But if I said to you, okay, you're going to learn, you're going to go and you set a goal of running a marathon, you wouldn't expect to achieve it the next day. And somehow in business, people set a goal of doubling their sales and they expect the next day to be doubling their sales, sort of thing. And so what has to happen, you have to do the training, you have to do the learning, the studying, and all of that sort of stuff in order to get there. And that's where I think we as humans need to get a little more accepting of the time it takes to learn, and what it takes to do that learning. But dream, goal, learn, and then plan. And I hear you guys are doing some planning stuff tomorrow, if that's a thing. But that, if in business you don't plan, you're crazy. You know, the most important plan, by the way, is the daily plan. What you, like at the end of somewhere early 20s, in my early 20s, I was really struggling to go home when I went home. In other words, it'd all still be in my head. Couldn't forget it. So what I learned is that I just wrote a list at the end of every day of what I had to do the next day, and magically I could sort of leave work at work. But then what I found was by making that list, I was achieving so much more because I was getting more productive. You know how like when you go on vacation, you take a holiday and you make a list of everything you got to get done before the holiday, and magically you're done by halfway through the day, sort of thing. Same thing. Once you're good at daily planning, then you go to weekly planning, and once you're good at weekly, you get to monthly, and once you're good at monthly, you get to quarterly, and then get to annual and that. So dream, goal, learn, plan, and then action. And this is where part of what I wanted to chat with all of you about today is what actions are you taking as you go forward, sort of thing. You know, how many of you heard of the 80-20 rule? Anyone heard of the 80-20 rule? Okay, so that means about 20% of the tasks you did this year, you should be continuing to do next year. About 80% of the tasks you did this year, you need to dump or delegate or pass off to someone else, because 20% of it made you 80% of your money. So it makes sense to work out what that 20% is. Does that make sense to everybody? You know, if every year, what if every year from now on, you dumped 80% of the jobs you did, and you just got to the 20% that made you the money? If all you did was focus on the 20%. Now, this kills a lot of control freaks, right? Any of you that are total control freaks, it kills you off very quickly because you're like, no, gotta be in that, gotta be in that, gotta be in. Well, I'm not saying you have to dump it in one day. You may have to train some people, build some better systems, build better management or measurement systems or something so that you can, because delegation, you can't delegate unless you've trained them, given them a system, and given them a measure. Does that make sense? It's just called abdication. If you just go, hey, you're doing this now, that's not actually delegation. That's just handing off something because you didn't like it anymore. But as the boss or as the owner or as the person growing the business, your job is to become a better owner, not just better at the job of the business. And of course, what we all know is the first job for a business owner is to get off the tools. So if you're a plumber, first job, don't be doing the plumbing work anymore. Does that make sense? You know, gradually get out of doing the plumbing work, and eventually you hang up your plumbing boots and you can wear sneakers to school because you don't need steel-capped boots anymore. You know, you can walk in without them. In fact, one of our clients, was it last year or the year before, he actually sent me a photo of his boots. He'd had them gold embossed sort of thing and put into a trophy case that he will never need to wear work boots to work ever again. Like, it was his celebration type moment. And he then also sent me the date by which he said, by this date, my business will work without me as well, sort of thing. So it's no longer him running it. He'll have managers in place to run the business for him. And I think he'd given himself 3 more years to get to that point of getting it to run without him type thing. Because that takes building. You got to build customers to have cash flow, and you got to build systems, and you got to build people to run the systems, and build a reputation, enable to step back. You can't just step back because you want to. Well, I'm the owner, I don't need to work anymore. Yeah, that's probably not going to work. That'll probably just end in disaster, you know. So as the owner, what is it that we do? Well, let's look at the difference. So there's a thing that I teach that is a principle that in most cases is probably the #1 principle behind business and wealth success. It's called leverage.